Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and Iron Man here from the Block Runner MetaZone, Roby and MScribe, and today we bring you part 3 of the Intro to Ordinals.
The final edition.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got theory and technicals out of the way. That was part 1.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Getting our understandings of everything Casey Rodimer has brought in to the forefront, and then all the other, I guess, additional innovations that have followed. And then part 2 is what? It's like opportunities and metas and stuff like that. So what is actually happening as a result of Ordinals, right?
Yeah, correct.
So now we understand all of that. It's like, okay.
Finally, how do we participate?
Yeah, we get it. There's a casino afoot. This is like, how do I step in and get my little, my gambler's card, my rewards bucks and stuff like that, and actually start playing?
Do they have gambler's cards?
You've never been to a casino?
Not really.
Come on, mate. Live a little, dude. Well, actually, you don't have to. You could just...
There's a casino right in front of me, dude.
Yeah, this is way better, actually, to be on TVH. This is as risky as it is, believe it or not. It feels like this is much less risky than stepping into an actual casino, right?
Well, yeah, casino.
You like for sure lose every it's like a built-in loss mechanism.
Yeah. It's by design to lose.
Right. This is if you know what you're doing,
You
there's
always win.
This is a beatable game.
It is.
That's what's different about these types of casino environments than actual ones.
Which is why we like talking about the fundamentals, because that is how you beat the game.
Correct, yeah. So equip yourself with as much knowledge and understanding of what's happening, which part 1 and 2 will help you get like at the beginning stages of that knowledge accrual process, like, get your footings around established.
Yeah.
And then here as well, like these are going to be the tools to actually participate and play.
And
right?
first up, how do we get a gambler's card? Well,
yeah.
First, you need to get a wallet.
That's right.
And so the wallets that participate in the whole Ordinals ecosystem, there's a few, but these are the big ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have the Xverse wallet, which is here's a website, and all the links that we're going to talk about are going to be in the description. So
yeah,
here's Xverse, right? This is a pretty popular wallet. Right?
Yeah, and this is we made similar videos like these like a year or so ago, like when we first got involved in the space.
Yeah,
but it was much less like. I think we had much less confidence as far as like, these tools that we were endorsing were a lot less trusted back then because they were, newer. But these are pretty trusted platforms. They've been around for a year or more.
That's right.
With minimal like fault incidents. Right. So this is stuff you could trust.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah.
And the next one after Xverse is Unisat wallet. So this is a pretty big one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so all these are extensions to your browser. So it's just going to be a little icon on your browser, and then you'll be able to supply them with gambling bucks.
Yeah, and if this is actually your first like crypto wallet, your first web wallet, as they like to call them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not cold wallet, hot wallets is what
these
are.
Hot wallets, yeah.
Yeah, then I would recommend you do a little bit more research and to understand what those actually are, because there's like management processes, like managing secret phrases and stuff like that.
Yeah, so anytime you download any of these wallets, it's going to ask you to save these words.
Yeah.
Don't show these words to anybody.
No.
Even if if you think you're interacting with us on Discord and we're asking you for these phrases, don't give it to us.
Please don't.
Yeah, or anyone else.
Yeah.
Right? These are your own words. Don't show it to anybody. But write them down.
On a piece of paper.
Yeah, write them down. Don't take a picture and upload it to iCloud.
Don't do that.
And don't put it on Google Drive.
No. Don't.
Actually, get one of those old things called pencils or a pen specifically.
Dust it off.
Yeah. Actually write it down and put it into a safe place.
Yeah, like literally vault it up if possible.
Yes.
So, because you don't want anybody to get their eyes on that, because that is what unlocks basically the authentication of that wallet, and like whoever has access to those phrases, I mean, they own that wallet essentially.
That's right. Yeah.
So protect it at all costs, and that applies to all of these.
So if you don't know why these words exist, that's a different video, right? You got to learn about public and private key cryptography and all that stuff. So
yeah. It's not that hard. It sounds scary at first, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, it really is.
To it.
All right, so the next one up is Leather Wallet, right? Leather.io, the Bitcoin wallet for the rest of us.
Right. So this one plays into like multiple ecosystems, BRC20s, but also stacks and what's going on over there. So, it expands not just Ordinals native, but other things happening as well. So it's an interesting wallet.
That's a good point. Some of these wallets do additional things. Like this one talks to stacks. Others do not.
Correct. Unisat is pretty much largely centered around like ordinals and BRC20s and now atomicals and stuff like that. And eventually probably more stuff down the line.
Yeah, so once you get deeper into this rabbit hole, you're probably going to have all 3 wallets and using all 3 of them.
Yeah, and that brings us to OKX. OKX is like the prime example of tapping into basically everything. I mean, this can become like your all-in-one hub of like, you got your Ordinals assets and even like Ethereum assets in there.
That's true.
It's quite the aggregation like wallet. And I know people who personally use it for that effect. He's like, you could literally get an all-encompassing view of all your assets and all spread throughout all of Web3. It can get quite messy if you're like trying to play at every single ecosystem.
So they're using it as a viewer for all their assets, or
you can aggregate like all of the value,
or they're actually using the wallet to like inject the currency in there.
I think it's just a viewer.
Oh, viewer.
I think like of all your different wallets, like you could just like bring them all into like a singular display or something.
So that's different, right? That's like a visual display versus the actual wallet that holds your assets.
It's also a wallet that holds your assets.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
And OKX is very established, very trusted.
All right, so those are the main wallets here. There's a few others, but these are the big ones. All right, moving on. So
what do you do once you get your wallet?
Yeah, so like you actually
deposit some Bitcoin.
Deposit Bitcoin and start using some of these tools we're gonna be showcasing.
Yeah.
Once you deposit Bitcoin, then how do you actually inscribe?
Yeah, first of all, why would you want to inscribe?
Well, that's because you were traversing the Twitterscape.
Yeah.
And then you saw a cool picture, and then there was, we gotta be careful. Gotta be careful with the links here.
Yeah.
Because these links can take you to bad places, but sometimes links take you to good places.
So what's the PSA here? It's like, do I click or do I not? It's like, which one?
Yeah, that's not an easy answer.
It's not.
It's really not.
I mean, a lot of links. links are literally
they could be the death of you, really.
They're fundamental to like use of the internet, right?
They are
linking to things, but they're also it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, people can take advantage of that and like masquerade like this. It's can't miss opportunity.
Yeah,
into like funneling people into a link of disaster, right? So you don't want to fall into those traps, and they're out there. Trust me.
Yeah.
So be careful.
So, but many times those links will take you to good places like Ordinals bot, right?
Yeah.
So this is a good place to start inscribing. Mm-hmm. And the first thing you'll see is like you'll have files, like upload of files, like an image, for example.
JPEG or something is, I like cats too.
Yeah.
Well, I want to inscribe a cat collection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go fucking whatever paint app or whatever you do to make your art.
Yeah.
Upload it here.
Right.
And then what?
And then you actually go through the process of actually inscribing it onto a Satoshi.
And they have interesting features here that highlight that give you the usability of rare sats. And there's tons of rare sat platforms if you want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
That also offer their own inscribing services.
Yeah. So basically, these guys have done a good job of like helping a new user kind of walk through everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just an inscription platform. There's different types of inscriptions: files, text, markdown, sats. BRC20s, tap, tokens, and then bitmap is all here.
Yeah, so it's getting pretty robust, this Inscription ecosystem, right? So there's multiple platforms, Genie Data as well.
Yeah, so Genie Data is a database aggregator of all things Bitcoin and other blockchains as well. But
yeah, we're gonna go deeper into Genie Data here pretty soon in that respect. But just this is also part of the Inscription toolset. Right.
And so this is a place where you can actually create a dashboard. If you were savvy enough to create a dashboard of like specific mints, how many times those mints were claimed, things like that.
Yeah. And then again, Unisat once again. So there's a bunch of these actually. I mean, we just chose these 3 just like these are the ones we commonly use, so we have experience with them. It's like this pretty trusted again, and the fees are pretty reasonable in these platforms, so okay. So now what's up next? Like now that you know how to inscribe, some of these projects are telling you to mint things, you need to inscribe this JSON or whatever. This is how you actually mint an asset. You use those tools because like now I have these things, like how do I list them for sale? Right? Or how do I buy things that other people have minted through these inscription platforms?
You take them to marketplaces.
Correct.
Yeah. So now these marketplaces, like Magic Eden, You can list anything that you inscribed and hopefully sell it in the secondary marketplace. And here's basically the top list of so this is specifically Ethereum, but make sure you go to Bitcoin.
Yeah, this is it. The Bitcoin space is these are mostly all ordinal assets right here.
Yeah.
So this is important. This is like the hub. This is probably gonna be part of your daily routine. Is like checking in on Magic Eden.
Yeah.
And other relevant marketplaces depending on like what sector of assets you're kind of like focused on on that day.
Right.
And analyze the market, right? Most of them have some sort of like pertinent analytics information, right? The volume.
Yeah.
How many holders? Is it going up? Is it going down? Things like this. This is what's going to contribute to your decision-making process. Like, do I want to enter or exit a position for these different types of entertainment opportunities?
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely spend some time looking at all the like main collections, Node Monkeys, Runestones that just airdropped.
Yeah.
And we got Nat Cats in here, Quantum Cats, R6. So they're all here, all the main ones.
Yeah, you could look at them like as granular as like what's happening in every 10-minute increment, or like all-time charts, 30 days, 7 days, whatever. So, if you're new again, it's again, this is another thing that could be daunting. It's like, man, there's just too many numbers on the screen. Like I'm scared.
Right.
I don't want to fucking have to learn what all this means. Like, what do you mean? What's a market cap?
Yeah.
I mean, trust me, I was there one day too.
Yeah.
I was like, what is all this? Like, why do I need to know this? But it's actually very important. And it's good to get a grip on this stuff now because it applies in all markets, right?
Yeah.
So if you understand like market dynamics, it's something as new as Ordinals, it's going to apply to the rest of Web3 and whatever, any other market activity you participate in.
That's right. So moving on to other marketplaces, here's Unisat again as a marketplace. And this is predominantly for BRC20 tokens.
Correct, which is, if you remember part 2 of the series, fungible tokens.
That's right.
So there are other fungible token marketplaces that support native meta protocols. Like CBRC20 has their Ordinal Novus platform. Tap, I think, is working on one for like Tap tokens. And then, Mscribe itself, which we're going to get to. It's like a DMT native for fungible tokens and stuff. So they're out there. There's multiple platforms because there are multiple fungible token meta protocols. Once Runes goes live, it's going to have its own Runes version of Unisat. Yeah. So get familiar with all of it, because liquidity tends to kind of like hop around from these different fungible token environments.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if you looked at what happened with Runestones, they were airdropped to about 100,000 addresses that have at least 3 pictures in that address.
Correct.
And so that's basically roughly about 100,000 participants.
Yeah.
Give or take, 2x.
Correct.
Right? So that's not a lot of people, right? And so if you're watching this, you're still kind of early.
Yeah, oh, hell yeah. Big time.
Right? So eventually there's going to be millions of people looking at this stuff.
Correct.
All right, moving on. So we talked about Unisat. Finally, Ordinals wallet. So this is a big one too. They list pictures, fungible tokens.
Basically everything.
Yeah, basically everything.
But we're talking about Tap token, marketplaces. This is basically it. Like this was the first marketplace to support Tap.
Yeah.
And as you can see, most of the top tokens here on their volume charts are typically centered around Tap, right? Including DMT Nat, which is the token we deployed ourselves. So that is like the DMT ecosystem's, showcase fungible token. So
yeah, correct.
Yeah, this is definitely on the list. Ordinals wallet, very OG. Like, they've been here as long as we have in the space, and they're very flexible as far as like what it is. Yeah, it's not like Unisat where they're very like hyper focused on one lane.
Yeah,
they'll cover it all, right?
Yeah, Ordinals wallet is fast, right? Anything new that pops off, you'll usually find it on Ordinals wallet.
Yeah.
All right, we finally got to Ordzar. So another marketplace.
Yeah, this is more for like if you want to keep an eye on like upcoming launches and such. This is kind of like where their focus lies. For Ordinal art, this is a good platform for that. Another extension to Magic Eden, I would say. And there's going to be tons more, right? Like we saw this in the NFT space. It's all started with OpenSea, but by the end of it,
it was like 10 of them.
There's multiple NFT platforms, and all of them did very well.
Even Tom Brady created one, right?
Yeah, whatever happened to that?
TJ, what happened to Tom Brady?
What they call it, like autograph or something?
Yeah,
that's true. It was for like sports memorabilia specifically, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Shit. He might have went down with FTX, possibly.
Probably.
It's possible.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
BRC 420s?
Yeah, BRC 420 is another marketplace. So this one's a little bit interesting. This was focused on kind of bitmaps and content for bitmap.
Yeah.
And the biggest one here is a blue cube.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, a blue cube is worth $30,000.
A ton of money. And this was like a free mint.
This was a free mint.
So this is another example of like, why would you want to get involved in this space and like learn how to play in this casino? Well, shit, you could go from $1 to $30,000 if you just, mint the right thing.
That's right.
Now, determining what is the right thing to mint or not, that is the game.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
That's literally the slot machine we're all playing.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And
you can do all kinds of stuff. 3D models, 2D images, music.
Yeah, this is an open source platform. So if you wanted to create your own content under this protocol standard, you can. And now it's part of this ecosystem. People can buy this stuff. You can actually set a price for these assets.
Yeah, and you can also deploy some of these assets on top of a bitmap.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Finally, mscribe. So this is a platform we developed. It's focused on non-arbitrary tokens. Here on the landing page, you can see your bitmap. You can inscribe these individual parcels if you own this parcel, or if you own this district bitmap.
Bitmap, yeah.
And then if you go to NATs, you'll see a list of non-arbitrary tokens that have been minting, and their counterpart UNATs as well.
Yeah.
And so this is completely a marketplace in development, and there's tons of stuff that are being added consistently.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where you'll find the NatCats.
Yeah, if you're interested in the DMT stuff, right? You're hearing the buzz. It's like, what do you mean there's art that's being generated by Bitcoin?
Yeah.
I'm sure once you start to like navigate the Twitter spheres, people will be telling you that. And it's like, oh, well, Magic Eden has some of this stuff, right? And then you see that little like stored off chain identifier to them. It's like, well, this sounds like fake news. Well, you go to mscribe because everything that is actually displayed on mscribe is rendering the content based off its on-chain scripts.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of like the distinguishing factor here.
Yeah. So a lot of all the art that you'll see here is completely rendered on chain.
Yeah.
So all these are pointers to a script, and that script is being injected with block data, which is this number here, and it's completely rendering the NatCat in this example.
Yeah. So this is definitely a niche sector, niche environment. It is an Ordinals play.
Yep.
But it requires like deeper technical support that a lot of the other marketplaces haven't really committed to yet. So that's why it is literally the ground zero for DMT stuff.
All right, now we're back to Genie data. So this is again the not only a place where you can inscribe content, but it's a place where you can gather information about what's being minted in real time.
Yeah, Genie data has done a hell of a job. I actually recommend once you've kind of established yourself in this space, you want to have like a good sense of where you're at and your progression of this game. Connect your wallet here and go to the profile tab, and it does like an excellent job of aggregating all the different ordinal assets you have and giving you like a real-time value of that based on all the data it's aggregating from all the available APIs from all the other platforms, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's pretty cool. I use this daily as well, and this is like a necessary tool to, again, understand what's happening in the broader market and understanding how you're doing individually within it.
All right, moving the train forward, we got bitmap.community. So this is a data aggregated site of Bitmap.
Yes, pretty much the same thing, but again, focused on the Bitmap ecosystem. So yeah, if you hold tons of bitmaps, eventually once you hold like a bunch of parcels in the future, I'm sure they're going to aggregate that information as well to tell you value of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, they have a profile button here as well. This is another trusted platform, and if you want to know how you're doing as far as like all your assets, because it actually has the block attributes, which are individual rarity components to a bitmap.
Yeah, so if this is the first time you're hearing Bitmap, we have at least 50 videos that goes through explaining this, because this is the metaverse on Bitcoin.
Yeah, which is a big deal, and it's a very complex ecosystem. And Bitmap definitely adds more complexity to that, because it makes the land layer that much more, because it's non-arbitrary.
That's right.
Typically in metaverse ecosystems, land is distributed in an arbitrary fashion, so there's like not much uniqueness to the units of land deployment other than like coordinates and such.
Yeah.
But these actually have like actual real on-chain properties that make them unique, right?
Yeah.
So it'll take you a long time to understand this too. I'm sure if you come here, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It sounds like more shit I need to learn.
Yeah, why are 29,000 people holding a bunch of orange squares?
That's it. You're gonna have to get past that mental barrier.
Yeah.
But if you do like the metaverse and you like Bitcoin, explore Bitmap for sure.
All right, finally, Ordinal.io. So this is brand new.
Brand new.
This is like brand new, like within the last week or two.
Correct.
And so they're focusing on a bunch of art and their rarity components.
Yeah, if you're around there in the NFT days, this was like a huge component to like NFT market appreciation, I guess.
Yeah.
Is understanding, because PFP mania was like so rapid, so quickly distributing, I guess. Like every day there was like 20 new PFP collections, maybe more.
Right.
But the thing that, the market needed was rarity attribution, right? Like, how do I know which of these are actually valuable?
Right.
That's the goal of this platform.
Yeah, so this is, its own rabbit hole, but definitely explore like the different attributes a lot of these projects have.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going into the nitty gritty. So if you ever wanted to see what a Bitcoin blockchain looks like, the place to go is mempool.space.
Yeah, this is like probably one of the first things we kind of like. I mean, I never looked at this pre-ordinals, to be honest. I didn't.
I've seen it before,
Yeah.
But this is definitely not easy to understand. It's like, what is happening in these transactions? Like, it's not simple.
Correct.
And it's kind of by design, right? But yeah, mempool is this is the website you're going to be spending a portion of your time, right?
Especially if you're like degenning and minting things.
Yeah, correct.
Because this is how you keep your eyes on like the fee environment, right? Like, right now this is an optimal time. Like if you see it right now, these current Bitcoin fees.
Yeah, 12 sats per VByte for virtual byte.
Historically, over the last year or so, like this is a very, very low range.
This is, yeah.
This is like where you want to start. If you're an artist or creator, you want to start inscribing your shit on chain.
Yeah.
Like around this time. If you're like a degen, like I want to start mass minting around this time, stuff like that. Because like at a snap of a finger, this can change to the 3 digits.
Yeah, we've seen 300 right here.
Yeah, we have. And it becomes like unfeasible to do a lot of things. And it prices a lot of people out. So you're going to have to always have your eyeballs on this,
Speaking of eyeballs, another place you're going to be spending a lot of time on is Ordiscan. So if you're familiar with the Ethereum landscape with Etherscan, this is essentially the same thing.
Pretty much.
But it's really specific to your own, either an inscription or your address. Right. So yeah.
And notice they got runes already up there.
Yeah.
They're ready, dude. They're prepared. They're ready for the full-on rune show that's on its way.
Yeah. All right. So this is what an inscription looks like. You got inscription ID. You have the owner, the virtual bytes, the byte size for something like this, and the SAT number and all kinds of data. So yeah, if you've been around the block with like crypto, this is like a very common thing to read.
Yeah.
All right, we have another marketplace, Ord.io. I think this is just another tool for you to kind of look at everything that's being minted, that exists.
Yeah, this
clearly there's a lot of art.
Yeah, this is like ground zero to like new ordinals entering the space. This is like where people, if you're really keeping your eyes on this, you're gonna see like deployments before anybody else, really.
Yeah,
and that's like it can be a signal to kind of like get in early on things, right?
Yeah.
And if you click on any of these individually, I think they have like chat rooms here. Like
over here is like you can actually send messages.
There's one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some of these, like people actually have full blown conversations. Like, yo, what is this? Should I ape in? I'm like, yeah, let's ape. It's interesting. A very cool platform. It has the attributes as part of it, so very cool.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Finally, the biggest one, Ordinals.com. So this is the genesis of all Ordinals. Here's the Gitbook or the docs section for everything Ordinals.
Yeah.
And how it all works. So this came from Casey Rottermore.
Yeah,
so this is probably where you should start in terms of like understanding Ordinals, right? So we talked about this in the past.
Yeah, and this is typically where I go to, like if I'm gonna like copy and paste an Ordinals ID to kind of like get to the ultimate roots of source of truth what is this inscription?
Yeah.
I go here.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, paste it right there in that search bar at the top, and it'll take you to the details here.
Yep.
Just like that.
All right, finally, so I know the mechanisms to like acquire assets with my wallet. I know which tools to use.
Yeah.
How do I know what is currently being minted? What's the new stuff? Like where's the action happening?
Well, other than listening to us,
Yeah.
we're not the only ones in the space, right? We're not the only ones with opinions or, I guess, like thoughts on like where the trends are headed.
Right.
Right. So we've aggregated a beginner list, I guess, of people that we tend to look at on Twitter, and some of these are YouTubers, and these are just basically people who do what we do, essentially trying to educate, spread awareness, and get people who don't know what the fuck is going on to understand a little bit better.
Yeah, so this is in no particular order, and this is definitely not a comprehensive list because there's definitely a lot
of people missing.
Yeah, a lot of people missing, but this is a good place to start. So we'll go with Mattyverse, CB Spears, Bob Bodley, Casey Rodermore, Leonidas, T.O., Trevor, Domo, Ord Revolution, Connor on Chain, Danny Yang, Benny, SMB, X, and Francis Dune.
Yeah.
And so there's a ton of them, and once you start following these guys, like that will spread into like different people to follow.
Correct. Yeah. You're just by following these people, you're gonna notice, other people replying to what it is they're saying on Twitter, and then like, oh, that guy says something interesting, you follow him.
Yeah.
And then it turns into like a chain reaction. By a year from now, you're gonna be following thousands of people probably.
Yeah. And
your feed is just gonna be pure AIDS. It's gonna be people bickering and sometimes Twitter just. It be like that sometimes,
Yeah.
It can.
I mean, that's how all of Twitter is, really. There's a bunch of bickering.
Yeah, we're not saying these are the bickerers, but once your Twitter follower list gets like into the thousands, it's like, fuck.
Yeah, it becomes useless.
Kind of, yeah. You want to be careful, actually, like who you follow, because, it can become toxic pretty quickly. So a lot of these people here are very respected.
Yeah.
They know their shit, and they've been... they're like legacy OG Bitcoiners and stuff.
Yeah.
Ordinal.
I mean, they've been talking about Ordinals early days, right?
Correct.
So if you find people who are newly talking about Ordinals and they have like a huge following, those are probably not the ones that you should listen to all that much, right? Just because they may not know everything that these OG knows.
Yeah, so that is important. Twitter, again, is going to be like the most... used of all these platforms mentioned.
Yeah.
It's gonna, as far as like your rotation of activity to participate in this casino.
Yeah. If
it all happens on Twitter.
If you're not sick of Twitter by the time you're like, you spend a few days like putting all this together, then you're not doing all the work that you should be doing. You need to be sick of Twitter, in other words.
Pretty well.
Like we are.
I think you guys mean X.
Oh, my bad. X. That one. Yeah. Twitter's dead.
Yeah. I wonder if we're the only ones that call it Twitter.
No, I definitely call it Twitter.
Yeah, I think that might be stuck, dude. I don't know, but you all know what we mean.
Twitter's a better name, anyways.
Yeah, Elon fucked up.
Yeah.
But that's it. Yeah. I think that's a good wrap up of. It's as much as we could give you guys in like an hour time frame, Yeah. But obviously, if you want to know more, we put out content. We try to put out daily content, but on average, we're doing like 4 videos a week.
Yeah, on average,
and we're trying our best to cover it as much as we can. That's interesting to us.
So the final question is: if we were to do a part 4, what would that part 4 be about? Right. So let us know in the comment section below.
Predictions for the future? I don't know.
Yeah, could be anything. If we were to do a part 4 to this, what would it be?
Yeah, good question.
Let's see.
All right. That's it.
Yeah, that's it for us. I appreciate you guys for watching. If we miss anything, let us know in the comment section below as well. And appreciate you, and we'll catch you in the next video.
And good luck. Peace.